101.9 WDET-FM. I'm Tia Graham. Now, what happens when building a new space or renovating one means more than profits? When design and functionality come together to better a community and its residents? The New School is a collective of 8 women-led architecture firms working to reimagine Detroit from the ground up. No pun intended. The group hopes to connect with as many like-minded people to help change the landscape of architecture and build more inclusive spaces. This month, the group will participate in Creative Mornings, a monthly meet and mingle for Detroit creatives to connect with them, pool resources, and find solutions. Joining us now to talk a little bit more about the New School and an upcoming Creative Monday event happening, we have Laura Marie Peterson, director of 1+1+, and Laura Walker, owner and co-founder of Other Work. Laura and LP, thank you so much for joining us on the Metro.
Yeah, thank you.
We're happy to be here. Thanks.
Awesome. So we're going to just jump in. The New School. I want to talk about having separate women-led organizations or companies coming together and joining forces. Laura, we're going to start with you. When did the idea actually turn into more than like a group of architects having a lunch and talking about it? When did it actually, take hold?
Yeah, it really happened organically. So there's 8 of us. And I would say originally we didn't all know each other. We knew of each other. We were fangirls of each other. And we had overlapping circles. And we're all owners of small businesses. And it's hard to find the time, the resources to market ourselves. And so Laura Peterson, LP, actually had the idea of if we come together, then we can pool our resources and just get the word out about our firms together.
Yeah, and LP, similar kind of question, when you think about this collective, the New School, what were you thinking about in terms of the impact that you all can make together?
I think for me, the biggest thing was making sure that the work that these women have already been doing in the city was going to get recognized. So once we're recognized, that empowers us to then do more work like this, right? And we work small, we work in the community with the community, but we also want to have a bigger impact in Detroit. And we know that coming together, we can do that, whether that's by actually working together or through other means.
Yeah. And just once again, thinking about women in the field of architecture, if you could, LP, we're going to stick with you for a moment. Talking about the landscape of architecture right now, you talked about being smaller firms. So what does it look like for you on a day-to-day?
On a day-to-day? Well, it's like any small creative business owner. You're in it. You're probably in it more than you're working on it. But I think what's cool about the work that we all get to do is that we find joy in just working in in the city that we live in, and and also it's like mostly being in it though, because we're small, and so at some point we're hoping to get to a point where we get to work on it, and we're kind of doing that together too. This process has been really cool because coming together, we've been able to talk about what our larger vision and stuff is. That's what we're talking about Friday at Creative Morning too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's what I love so much about listening to our small business community is just that, number one, Detroit's going to hustle harder. So you're going to do, and you're putting in this work all the time. But at some point, you do have to say, I have to kind of look at the bigger picture, take a step back and see where we are within this whole landscape, which we're talking about architecture. But Laura, bringing you into the conversation, can you talk a little bit about some of those projects that LP was referring to and some of the things that you've been able to do throughout the city of Detroit? I want to say shout out to Bryce Detroit because you are wearing his T-shirt, hood close to gentrifiers. So please talk about some of that work you've been able to do.
Yeah, a lot of our work for all of our firms is rooted in community. And whether it's a smoothie bar that we're doing or a laundromat cafe or even a neighborhood framework plan that we're working on, we want to bring in folks that are going to be impacted by that space. And not everyone has worked with an architect before, so they don't really know the process, what all is involved with it. So a big part of our work is educating, And then bringing folks into the design process, finding ways to make architecture accessible, and knowing that like we're co-authoring with them. They feel that the space, like they have ownership in the space, who gets access to that space. So I'll mention one project we're working on is a hub laundromat cafe on the east side. So it's a laundromat in a neighborhood where it's mostly renters. A higher percentage of children are in that neighborhood, and there's really no third spaces for those children. So this hub laundromat is meant to be a cafe with healthy food, and then workshops, resources to share. And that's what's exciting. It's like doing work with folks that will be positively impacted by it.
Which sounds so cool, because how often are you sitting in the laundromat for, hours doing your laundry, and you could possibly, be doing other things, while your stuff's spinning away. So that is a really, really unique space that I'm hoping to learn more about coming to the east side of Detroit pretty soon. LP, bringing you into the conversation as well, listening to Laura talk about some of the impact that she's been able to make as you all have been able to make as women-led businesses. But LP, can you talk about some of the things that you've been able to be witness to?
Yeah, so I think the project I guess I'll talk about is a project with Peachtree Parks on the east side on East Verner. It's hard to miss if you're driving towards the east side. There's a big geodesic dome. And basically, Peachtree Parks, their whole mission is providing healthy food for people through teaching them how to grow food in their backyard. And they'll actually come out and help you build a garden bed. And so a recent project is they're expanding that program to now bring in chefs and other people to do pop-ups. So we just completed a community kitchen on the east side. It's a couple shipping container units. One of them is like a small line kitchen. The other is a storage shed for the agricultural stuff on the property. And then it has like a big roof, sort of an outdoor thing. And every Saturday this summer, they've been having free food, 200 meals for the community. So it's been a really great, it's had a really great impact.
That is absolutely amazing to think about it even expanding during your time and watching it grow and grow. And it's helped so many people within that community. So that's amazing things to hear in terms of architecture and what architecture can do, especially when we talk about collaborating on design and teaching others what it means to work with an architect. So we're talking about a new collaborative called The New School. It consists of 8 women-led businesses aiming to change the landscape of architecture and impact those who live in the city of Detroit. Our guests are Laura Marie Peterson, LP, director of 1+1+, and Laura Walker is the owner and co-founder of Other Work. Now, I do want to stick on this theme and ask you both about the face of the changing landscape of Detroit. So oftentimes we often talk about gentrification and what it looks like and who's living in the neighborhoods and the communities. But you all work in the communities, you live in the communities, and you're also making sure that you're doing equitable education. You're making sure you're doing inclusive education. So I'm asking and wondering from your perspectives, does it matter who is doing the work if it's happening and impacting all people? And we're going to start with you, Laura. Does it matter? Does it matter?
I would say yes, it does matter. And we're also, we don't believe that architects have to be capital A licensed architects. So that's a big part of it, is it does matter. The folks that are doing the work should be familiar. They are the experts of their community, of their neighborhood. So having them be involved in the transformation, in the work, that's why we do community led, but we also want to make sure that the people that we're working with are compensated. However way, whether it's financially or exposure, like they get the recognition for the work that they're doing. And I'll also say 8 of us are women. We have a whole background of races. 80% of architects are white men. Mm-hmm. So that's a really important thing, is kind of educating what architecture is about and hopefully changing the demographic of architects.
LP, same thing. But before we get into it, I was going to say, because neither of you would strike me as those what we would think of as an architect. If you look in a dictionary right now, I don't think it would be either of you that come to mind. It would be a white Man, so, that's already changing the landscape, is having different folks representing what it means to be an architect and be in that field. But following up with you, LP, there are some things about being a capital A architect that are important, right? So making buildings structurally sound, design, all the things that go into it. Can you talk about how you bring the lowercase A architects, like Laura just mentioned, to it and bring it all together? How do you come together to train folks and make sure that everyone is on the same level as much as possible? Because it's not something that you can make sure that is actually, equal across the board, but you can try to bring as many people as you can. So, LP?
Yeah, I would say for me personally, being involved in a union, being involved in grassroots type movements, these are things external to architecture that I feel like we've learned from and is part of why we've come together. So that is important, right? The sort of ground up stuff. And it's really important in Detroit specifically because we have a lot of kind of top down things happening across the city. Yes. That have had both positive and, potentially negative impacts. So we like to come at it from both perspectives. So obviously we have the skill set to navigate that top down and change certain policies and that sort of thing. So there's a woman in the group, Elise Deschard, like she's working on a project. Currently in the state of Michigan, it's not in the law that you can have all gender restrooms, for example, but she was able to get a public project through with that. That has a big impact. We do special land use hearings and Board of Zoning appeals to try to get like agricultural buildings, which is part of Detroit's culture, within like R1 and R2 residential districts. So it's kind of coming at it with both ends, like learning from that sort of capitalist architecture corporate world and the tools that they use, but now using them to benefit the people from the ground up as well. So I don't know if I answered your question.
Beautifully. No, beautifully, because you were able to explain the other side of things. It's not just, as you were saying, or as you all have advertised through the new schools, it's a new way of looking at architecture and the way that the field is set up in the first place. And to hear that you all are, in meetings and you're talking to the community and you're making sure that you're listening to folks around you. I know for you, with, once again, Bryce Detroit, have you worked with Bryce Detroit on any type of agriculture or any type of design project?
No, I just go to his events.
He's
awesome.
Getting some free promo right now.
Yeah.
But I will say he's also working on developing some areas on the north end.
Yes.
So I just think about coming together and working with folks, maybe even like a Bryce Detroit or other grassroots leaders within the community and activists who are trying to rebuild their neighborhoods and in their communities. Once again, what would that look like when you're working one-to-one with those in the community?
Yeah, I would maybe do a shout out for Garaje Cultural in Southwest Detroit. So it's a cultural arts center. They actually have Southwest Fest coming up in a couple of weeks. Yes, so they do host all sorts of cultural programming and youth education, and getting the opportunity to work with them to help their network have a vision for their whole campus, and even for the building that they're in now, has been really exciting. And it's also very daunting. Like LP was saying, there's a lot of different factors and hoops to jump through, but they have the vision. So to find the right experts to bring in other partners to help navigate these hurdles and also like test out multiple scenarios. So it's one thing to have a vision, but not to really know what it looks like and what items go exactly where. So that's what we're really good at, is visualizing various scenarios and then how to incrementally phase the build out.
And before we get out of here, we're getting down to the end of the conversation here, but I do want to ask about gentrification, because we talked a little bit about it, and folks, may have different ideas of what it actually means. So from your perspective, from your eyes, what does it mean? And we're going to start with you, LP. What does it mean, or how do you define gentrification?
I've been thinking about this a lot because people talk about it firstly as an initial displacement, but I live in West Village, so for me, I can also see it as a continued displacement once real estate values and all of that stuff goes up. And yeah, I mean, that's definitely a hard thing to watch in Detroit neighborhoods. I think one thing, this isn't tied to my practice, but one thing that people in my neighborhood have been talking about is thinking about, well, obviously there's developers coming in and doing more affordable housing, but also thinking about restrictions on Airbnbs in certain neighborhoods and stuff like that, I think would be a really positive thing for Detroit, especially because the types of neighborhoods that tend to be gentrified within the city of Detroit are ones that already have infrastructures for amenities or amenities in place. And it doesn't make sense for not everyone in the city to have equal access to this type of thing.
And same thing, Laura, how would you define gentrification, especially in today's Detroit?
Yeah, this one's tough. For me, gentrification, it's a question of what we value. And gentrifying is, it's exploitive, it's extractive, and it's only coming in when that value provides financial benefit for folks already in power. What we see is that, especially with the creative folks, which is a lot of Detroit, like the hustlers, they are reclaiming the value of their spaces, their places, their buildings, their people. So they're finding that value. They're investing in one another, whether it's through the art, the music, celebrating their culture and their backgrounds. And after they do that, then someone else comes in and wants to capitalize off of that. So, ownership and stewardship of land is power. Being able to decide who has access to that space and how they use it and who they are. So we do like to work with folks that have been there. A lot of times they're exhausted. Mm-hmm. They've been through it. And so bringing joy to the design process is a big part of how we navigate that, and also finding ways for them to keep the ownership and that just being able to have access to that land.
And, before I let you both go, Creative Mondays is coming up. For those who have been listening to this conversation, you want to hear more of this conversation, maybe even ask questions in person, what should folks know about this upcoming Creative Monday? Laura?
It's going to be a lot of fun. You will see all 8 of us, and we're going to share a little bit about each of our work and how it's unique to each one of us, but also how we overlap and support one another.
LP?
Yeah, come on out. I actually think it's a really great opportunity if you're not in the architecture and design space. If you have a small business, that sort of thing, you'll get to meet a really awesome group of women that if you're trying to make that next move, we'd love to help you find the tools and give you some example. We're basically going to be showing all of our work, which is really exciting. So you can come out and see that.
I'm super excited about it, and I can't wait to post this online so folks can find out a little bit more. Laura Marie Peterson is a director of 1+1+, and Laura Walker is the owner and co-founder of Other Work. The two make up a collective of 8 women who have joined forces to create the new school, and August 15th is the date for that Creative Monday. Thank you so much for joining us on the Metro.
Thank you, Tia.
Thank you so much.
Coming up, high schoolers are designing video games to get involved in their community. You all stay right there. We'll learn a little bit more about this cool project. This is the Metro.